Hi, I'm Ben. I was a PGCE student at the Institute of Education last year, and for 10 weeks of my second teaching practice, I went to the international school in Oslo. I had a fantastic time teaching in Oslo. I got to work with some outstanding teachers who'd been selected to go and teach at that school because they were particularly good at what they do. Teaching in a different country is an interesting experience. The school itself was fully English speaking, but they weren't teaching GCSEs or A-levels. They were teaching only to the IB specifications. So there was no examination, there was no strict curriculum before the equivalent of year 12, which meant that you could teach what you thought was relevant and what you thought was good for the kids and interesting for them and what they would really get engaged with and therefore enjoy and learn better. So I found that a very interesting experience in terms of sort of thinking about why we're teaching what we are teaching and why we're teaching at all, and how we're doing it to get pupils engaged in the subject and involved and get them coming away with a sense of, actually, I learned something and it was useful. So that I found very interesting. I also found going away to another country for 10 weeks really gave me a fantastic opportunity to focus on my teaching and getting my teaching, my overall classroom practice better, because I essentially took myself away from my normal life for 10 weeks and I didn't have any of the extra concerns of family, friends, relationships, any of that. That wasn't a concern anymore. Yes, I then had to come to terms with the fact that I was having to live in a country where I didn't really speak the language. But it meant that I had time to really focus on getting my teaching excellent, really, really, really good, so that when I came back to the UK, the skills that I brought back with me and employed in my last 3-week placement back in London, I really had them perfectly mastered. So when I then applied them in the schools, I was confident in what I was doing, and I could then think about maybe working on my behaviour management or other aspects that I hadn't had to worry too much about in Oslo. So I definitely found that having that time away was really useful in order to focus on what I was doing the PGCE for. I was doing the PGCE so that I was a competent and excellent teacher, and having time away from the rest of life's worries is a brilliant way of sorting that out. For those of you that wonder about, will I be able to cope with being in another country? I went to Oslo. It's in Norway. They all speak Norwegian. It was quite a challenge, especially arriving on the first evening. I had absolutely no idea how to get from the airport to the university halls where I was going to be staying. And I had a Norwegian phrase book and about 3 weeks worth of Norwegian tuition, which just about got me through. But what it taught me is that you shouldn't be afraid of just giving something a go. Try your hardest. If it all goes wrong, then it's no great shake. And that made me much more confident when it came to teaching in the classroom, because I was able to try my hardest at a particular lesson that I thought was a bit innovative, a bit avant-garde. If it all went horribly wrong, it's not the end of the world. Pick yourself up, try it again, or go back to something that you know how to do. So it certainly gives you an awful lot of confidence. In terms of advice to give, I'd just say go and do it. That's my advice. If you think that you'd be able to cope with being away from home for 10 weeks and you'd be able to get over all of that, and it's a struggle, but you can do it. If you think you'd be able to do that, then go for it. Sign up with GST and definitely go and spend some time teaching outside of England.